Good afternoon to all my participants. So this third session of this day workshop will start. I request Shri Chandrasekhar Reddy to take over the session.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Let me just share my computer and
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Your screen is visible.
Okay, good. Okay, so good afternoon to everybody. I know it will be a little difficult after lunch, but let's try to keep it short and try to make it interesting as much as possible. So, in this session, we are going to talk about analyzing and especially how we can protect ourselves from fileless attacks. Because though in the morning session I did speak about malwares and APT attacks, but the one common thing across these two things is especially if you look at in last 5 years, maximum number of attacks comes through fileless. So let me give some information about fileless attack and show an example, and then we'll move forward in terms of how we can analyze these and how we can protect ourselves from fileless attacks. Okay, so typically the difference between any standalone malware versus fileless is the reason why people call a fileless malware is because in reality, as per our morning definition, there is nothing called fileless. A process has to start, and the process behaves or does some things which the user is not really wanted it to be. It means every process is a file. It means by and large, our understanding is every malware is a file based. But what is the meaning of fileless is typically these antiviruses are the latest EDR products, endpoint detection and response products. Whenever a process starts, it basically analyzes the entire binary file and tries to determine whether it is good or bad. But what happens is many of these malwares, they don't touch the disk which are coming up. Let me just show you how that is possible, why we need not to touch the disk, and still how the hackers are accomplishing, especially meeting their standards. So let me just give you a simple example here. If you look at my computer here, I'm just opening up one file. Let us say I open resume.docx. So though this file looks very normal to you, but what is the difference? Let me just go to the macros and click on the view macros. So view. Okay, let me just close this. Okay. Let me just show you this one. Okay, actually, I'm running an antivirus in my computer, so that's the reason why it is not allowing me to open this. Okay. Okay, no problem. I'll just show you in a minute how exactly we can differentiate the file-based versus fileless. So what happens is typically in PDF documents, Microsoft Office documents, and browsers, there are a lot of capabilities where we will be able to uh, write a lot of logics within the documents. Example, when you open a document file, you can also write something called macros. Typically, the macros are used for doing some logic computations within the Microsoft Office documents. It may be Excel sheet, it may be document, it may be PPT, whatever it is. But however, the same programmable logic, what we can put it within the macros, like example, if I just click on a simple document and just open up my macro and example, if I just go here and type a macro and say create. So this is where I can create a simple macro. That macro, what people can do is they can invoke processes which are, I call it as a PowerShell or run DLL32. Lot of system related processes can be used to launch from here. Though the initial intention of Microsoft is to give those macros to read something from the file and do some logic computations and give them more power than a simple document. But however, the same logic can be used by the hackers to launch some of these processes like PowerShell, RunDLL. There are many processes which typically they can be launched, and there is something called stage one payload attack. Like in the morning, we saw about Metasploit. You can just listen as a command and control center, and you can create payloads using Metasploit, and that Metasploit payload can be can be launched using these programs like PowerShell. So when the PowerShell or this kind of applications comes into the memory, the logic, I mean the shell code stage one, which is actually a simple network connections to the command control server to download the further shell code. So if you really see it in practically, what is happening is applications like PowerShell, processes like PowerShell, RunDLL, these things come up into the process, and entire logic, everything can be done within the memory of the same process. So in reality, the malware is not really touching the disk at all. The entire logic is within the memory of a very good process, and in that memory of the very good process, all the bad things are happening. So that's why these are extremely difficult to catch by antivirus products or even the latest EDR products and all those things, because in reality, they have never been written into the disk at all. So that is the biggest problem what people see in terms of detecting these ones. So that's the biggest problem for most of these malwares. Okay, so now let me go ahead and we will also try to create some of these fileless attacks and how we can really detect these things, and what kind of mechanisms we can follow, especially even when we are trying to protect ourselves from these kind of latest attacks. So if you look at this one example, so this is a PowerShell. You can see here, it is basically running in a hidden window and trying to download the payload from a web URL. So this web URL basically hosting the stage one payload, which is completely obfuscated. We talked about what is obfuscation means, so that somebody, when they read it, they will not be able to get the direct translation from that, because it has some more layers of obfuscation where to decryption is possible only when it is running. So one more example I'll just show you here. So this is one more complicated way of sending the stage one payload to run DLL32 process. And if you look at the one what I'm highlighting here is the stage one payload. If you look at it, it's all numbers, but ultimately this is completely obfuscated, or it is not that easily can be read by any antivirus products or any IDS, IPS, those kind of security products. So this stage one payload, what you can see here in numbers, actually is simply making a network connection to one of the web server, and then from the web server, the further code will be downloaded into the memory of RunDLL32. And RunDLL32 is a process by Microsoft itself, and it will be used for various function loads from DLLs. So, I mean, not to get into too much technicals, basically what the whole thing is, you can run still malwares without downloading them as a portable executable into the system. They can still run in a memory of one more process, and that too, whatever is running within that specific memory, that will be not in a straightforward manner. It will be obfuscated, it will be encrypted, it will be encoded, so that it will be extremely difficult for the signature based, heuristics based products to detect some kind of malicious activities going within the operating system. Okay, so I mean, this I have generated through a tool called Cobalt Strike, one of the tool which is heavily used by government organizations in US and a lot many hack forums. Very extremely difficult to get the license to this, I mean, software, but somehow people get access to these things by paying money or through some law firms, and then they use those tools to launch attacks on the targeted, I mean, entities or organizations. Okay, now let me get into this PPT again. Okay, so as I explained so far, the fileless malware is a type of software doesn't rely on kind of a files to infect the system. Basically, it is it hides in a memory. That's why if you look at it in reverse engineering and forensic analysis, there is a lot of emphasis on memory-based forensics. It means there is a volatile memory in the RAM, and there are some information on the disk, and there is a lot of information on the network. So when it comes to the forensics, there is a lot can be done in the network side, a lot can be done on the system side, and there is a lot of rich information is also available when the system is on, especially in the read-only memory. So that's why we call the ROM or RAM, both of them very, very precious, especially when we do a reverse engineering malware analysis and forensic analysis. And the way how typically these kind of fileless malwares infect the system is basically the victim goes to a website or he gets a mail. So ultimately it starts from you go to a website or somebody sends a mail to you, or you download a software which is not really from a legitimate sources, or maybe it looks like a legitimate source, but actually it is not. In fact, last year, some of the people exploited one of the update server of a very important application which gets from updates from that server, and they injected their malware into the upcoming updates. That way, even though the entire process is right, the update server is right, the system is right, but the next update, whatever everybody got, they also got infected because they were able to inject their payload into the upcoming update. So that's why it is extremely important, even for the security companies to stay secure and keep their entire system secure. And but however, the whole process of fileless malware starts from either typically from browsing a website or a mail comes to you, and typically they comes with two things. Like in the morning, you saw in the demo in the afternoon time, we visited a vulnerable web browser. We visited a URL through a vulnerable web browser, Chrome, and because there is a vulnerability existed in that specific version of the Chrome, and we were able to take advantage. And the moment you, the moment you visit that particular URL, your system is compromised, and a web shell came to the Metasploit command control center. The same way, either when you visit a URL, if the browser has any issue, or whether the Flash version or a Java or JVM version, whatever you're using, if they have any vulnerabilities, that is one way they infect. The typical way is they send you a lot of attachments, PDF, Microsoft Office documents, and things like that. And when you download those things, because of the lot of old versions what we use, either at the browser level or the extension level or the softwares which are rendering the downloads. It may be video, it may be PDF document, it may be documents, or it may be any other data which is coming through the browser. So these three places where they inject, and they use something called exploit kits, browser level, extensions level, and the softwares which are rendering the data which is coming. And if there is any vulnerability available, they will be able to infect your system in the memory and get the shell to the command and control center, and that's how they are going to basically control the endpoint machines. So some of the detections and analysis methods, these are typically extremely difficult to find it out. But again, if you do network level monitoring, and if you look at the system level process execution monitoring, and the file callbacks and registry callbacks, so if you do these four things properly, somewhere the anomaly comes into the picture, and some type of symptoms the system will show for sure. Because end of the day, if any system gets hacked, means the three things one of the three things has to happen. It has to make an interconnections, either slowly or aggressively. It needs to do a lot of file access on the system. It means it has to open files, it has to read files, it has to modify files, whatever it is. And the third thing is to stay in the memory, some kind of a consumption of the CPU cycles and RAM definitely has to happen. And there will be a little bit of inconsistency in terms of the process execution cycle. So process execution cycle, memory usage, network activity, and the file IO and register IO operations. Because in Windows, if you have to load any function, some or the other way it will touch the registry, because that is a centralized configuration management database for the entire Windows systems. That's what we saw through Procman, right? So one of these things will definitely will show some symptoms, but they may not be as aggressive as you can think. That's why it's a little difficult to figure it out, but yes, we can still go ahead and find it out. So the next one is steps to protect from fileless malwares. There is no silver bullet anyways, but however, some of the best practices, and by understanding how these things happens, we should never use administrative rights on the systems to access websites, or typically we don't want to use root, we don't want to use administrative accesses to access our system, because the higher privilege users you use, the more problem which will happen to our system. Always better to create a normal user accounts and use the system on a day-to-day basis, so that they don't have more access to the system resources, especially for registries, services, and all those things, so that the persistence becomes really difficult. And obviously keeping our applications, operating systems up to date with patches is really important. Because as you see in the morning also, whatever example we saw, the Chrome really is out of date, and it has some patch issues. So I mean, it is not up to date with the latest version. So many a times some of us don't update our applications or operating system for whatever reason, but it is recommended to keep our softwares always up to date, because that's the only way we are going to make sure we don't get attacked by these vulnerabilities and exploits. And as I mean, some more things, restrict the PowerShell and DLL, those kind of things. If we are not using it through some Windows, centralized Windows policy, Active Directory and all. And now we can also use a very interesting technology called whitelist applications. That's what NIST basically talks about. Very interesting one, and I'm going to show you a live demonstration of the same. In fact, the previous company, what we created in the product, was also having most powerful whitelisting capability also, along with many other techniques. So obviously, having a powerful application controls which prevents browsers to not to spin processes like PowerShell, WMSC, and Java, those kind of things will keep organizations extremely secure. And definitely you need to use some kind of a traditional anti-malware and SIM related tools, which will be continuously monitoring all those things what I just mentioned, the network activity, file activity, process activity, registrations, and all those things, and keep looking for abnormal behaviors using threat hunting models, which we'll be seeing in a minute. So I think we already spoke enough on the APT attacks and who does it, and the whole purpose of APT is basically it's targeted by a specific entity to gain some government level or a state level or state sponsored attacks which are highly sophisticated. Sometimes even the operating system vendors or the application vendors also support to them. Okay, so again, I mean, this is that's why if you remember the MITRE framework, what we saw, what we are going to see again, if you remember, it has all those starting from the reconnaissance to the data exfiltration stages. They talk about multiple buckets in those things. So ultimately, again, it re-emphasizes what we just spoke so far, and this already we spoke about it. And so some of the, I mean, again, this I covered in a different way. Getting the information from the network layer and your DNS records and the process execution and all those things, taking all this information into a central SIEM or a SOC environment. And on top of it, if you write enough threat hunting models, definitely you will be able to point these abnormalities or some kind of deviations from normal behaviors will be detected at a much early stages. Again, I mean, this I don't want to get into too much; it will be too technical. Okay, there are 7 best practices typically to protect ourselves from APT or malwares or fileless malwares. I mean, one is definitely we need to have a either software-based or a hardware-based firewall with a more packet inspection or a data level inspection rather than just a source IP, source port, destination IP, destination port and protocol. Above and all, we also need to implement domain level and IP level reputation checks and some level of DNS, data level packet inspection. It will be really good. So if you are hosting any applications where there is a user input related activities are going to happen. If it is a simple static page, absolutely no problem. Just make sure the web server is implemented a host level firewall also, and also make sure that the system is completely hardened. But if it is some input you are taking from the user and again you are going back to the database and then again you are giving it back to the user, then that's where you will get all these OASP related issues like SQL injections, cross-case scripting, all those things. So that's where you need to implement. There are many free commercial and free and commercial to both are available. Some kind of a web application firewall is really useful so that you will be saved from a lot of crawling related attacks and a lot of loads gets created unnecessary on your web server can be omitted or can be stopped at the web application firewall level. The typical free antivirus is good, and then implement an intrusion prevention system or detection system. Having a sandbox environment is really useful because you can basically you don't have to like a virtual environment where you don't have to really mm, run all these samples on a live environment. Rather, keep a separate R&D sandboxing environment is good. And if any of the users are directly coming from remote location to the campus environment or your lab environment, better rather than allowing them through RDP or AnyDesk or those kind of protocols, better to allow them through a VPN. So there is an open VPN is available, so that is much better because you'll be able to restrict and see control at a user level also, and also it is a very it's not that easy for people to crack and come inside directly, especially when you open Windows RDP ports, remote desktop protocols, TeamViewer, AnyDesk. These things are typically not recommended at all in a corporate or education institutes. It's okay if one machine is there and there's nothing behind it, but typically for a corporate environment, even or a education institute, if you want people to get into your labs, better to implement a VPN level VPN and with the user level accesses so that you can remove the users when not required and continue to know what users are doing through their logging activity. And again, enable email protection is basically talking about the two-step verification factor, not just a login password, but always keep a two-step OTP based or a app based authenticator type of two-step verification is always useful. And some of the things which we already discussed are there. So I don't want to talk about the SOAR, but basically what I also mentioned in the afternoon, and I wanted, if anybody is creating any type of ELK or any SIM platforms, it is better to create a full-fledged SOAR platform. So basically, it's a complete orchestration and response-related thing, which combines the logs from all the sources within your organization, starting from firewall to antivirus to Active Directory, IDS, IPS, proxy, everything into a central console, so that the logs also will be there for a longer duration, and your teams can continue to write a lot of threat hunting models as per MITRE framework. I think if you understand last what I spoke in last 2 minutes, that is something, a huge business opportunity, and a lot of R&D can be done in that specific area, because this is what corporates want. This is what exactly we need to do to secure sensitive networks and sensitive websites or anything else. Even for governments, we can help. So if any organization, any institute can create a true ELK platform with the threat hunting models, that will be really, really useful, not only to the organization and institute, but also to the governments and third party organizations. That's where we can use the 6 months project, 6 months practice schools or project works. People can really, 6 months is good enough to create a nice platform. Okay. So again, Matter use cases, I'm just going to get into it now, and I'm going to show you how you map these things, and what exactly they are, a little bit more technical. So let me just go ahead and open up. Okay, so okay, if you look at the MITRE framework, what we spoke in the morning, and the important thing in the entire MITRE framework is, as I talked in the morning, it's a tactics and techniques. These are two different. That's why you see for every thing you see some number T1548. That simply means abusive elevation control mechanism. So they clearly talk about what exactly it means. Let me just go a little bit more so that you understand what is this. If I click on this specific abusive elevation control mechanism, which the ID is T1548. So if you look at, there are 4 techniques within this 1548. So let me just click on the first one. So set UID and set GUID. So in the Linux environment, if you look at it, typically we see 3 read, write, executable. If you look at, there are 3 bits available when you open up a file, right? Let me just open it and show you. Let us say, if I say, let me take a file. Let me create one. Copy bin back to 123. So if you look at this 123, you can see these are the 3 bits for outside world. This is for the group. This is for the owner. So you all know that this is for the owner, this is for the group, this is for the external world. You set up the read, write, executable permission. That's where you 4 3 sorry 4 2 1. 4 is basically read, 2 is basically write, 1 is basically execute. That's how you see these 3 bits, right? But however, if you see, there is one more additional bit in the beginning. That is very important to understand. That is called set bit. What does it mean is, okay, let me type now ID. If you see, my user ID is my username, and the user ID is 501. Suppose if I get into, sorry. If you see now, my ID became 0. I'm a root. So let me just show you what is the implication of set bit. The set bit means if I just do 47112123 So now let us see the difference between this one and this one. So typically we only see in the third bit always executable. But if you look at here, the we basically made it little differently. So what does this mean is, suppose whenever somebody executes this specific file, that person, doesn't matter whether that person is Chandra Reddy or not, he will always get elevated to the Chandra Reddy. So what hackers will do is, when they hack the system, so basically they make so the moment they get the access to the root, so they basically change the owner of the file, and they basically change the set bit of the executable to 4. So when somebody runs this specific 123, which is nothing but a bash shell, they get elevated to root. So I don't need to know the root password. I don't need to know the root and all those things. But if I get access to the root once, I'll be able to create a small backdoor and keep it ready. And I can keep running that file to get elevated myself to root. So that's what indirectly, I mean, even if you don't understand this fully, basically what I'm trying to say is, there are some things what hackers will do when they get access to the system. And that's exactly what it has been written here and the whole explanation. And that specific adversary mechanism has been tied up to a specific number, that is 154.1548.001. And this you can come to know through a data, I mean, file monitoring, file integrity monitoring, or a process command line parameters. Because if somebody is changing, if somebody has to set that specific one, I have to use commands, change mod, all those things. So by doing this kind of data source monitoring, you will be able to know if any of these kind of things happens. So very high level, basically, like that, there are thousands of control within the MITRE framework. If you remember the morning, they were the matrix level, starting from reconnaissance to, we saw resource development, initial access, to the last one, I think the impact, exfiltration impact. So now what I wanted to show you is to keep all these things. So now if I go to any.run, you will see an interesting, if I go to the reports, these were the submissions by various people in the world live. Now let us say if I take one, I want to take this one. Okay. So I didn't show you in the morning, though I went till here. I said this is the screenshot of the sandbox, what is happening. If I just keep moving the cursor, it shows different screenshots when the binary was running or the file was running in the system. And I told in the morning how exactly the processes were, the snapshot has been taken. But if you see, there is something here called AT&T and CK matrix. If I click on that, it actually opens up. One is you can see the complete list of MITRE framework matrix, but you wanted to see for this specific analysis, what portion of the tactics actually got matched or something happened. You can see only those tactics. You can see in the execution, you see 3, the persistence you see 3, because somebody is basically modifying the run keys in the registry, and the defense evasion, they were using 3 type of tactics. And in the discovery, they're also using 2. So maybe in the execution level, it is trying to do some systems service discovery. Maybe it is trying to query some registry. So things like that. If you want, you can also, this is very interesting. This is what I was talking about. When you do any type of analysis, that has to be mapped with the MITRE framework. That's what the industry is looking for now. And based on these kind of metrics, you will come to know the severity and the complexity and the damage what it can create going forward. So now if I click on the service execution, if I click on this one, they exactly write what they're trying to do. Maybe they're trying to do some net stop security center. They're trying to stop the security center within the system. So it is actually, this should not be done by a normal process. Somebody is stopping the security center within the system service. That is some definitely a symptom which basically shows a suspicious behavior. That's why the indicators of suspicious behavior and exactly it shows what it is. And it also tries to stop Windows Defender. You can see net space stop. Basically, it is trying to stop Windows Defender service. So I think by this time you understood now very high level what is matter framework and what is doing analysis in a sandbox or using the sysinternal tools and mapping those things back to those things and deriving some kind of a weightage. So I think this is what I was talking about, uh, putting different type of uh, basically different type of things to basically conclude or arrive at a meaningful decision whether something is how bad it is in terms of scale 1 to 10, whether how it's okay or it is extremely dangerous. So I think this is the logical methodology, or this is the logical way how any threat hunting groups or any malware analysis or a L1 L2 L3 analysis so typically do in a security operation centers. I mean, that's what I'm trying to put together. Okay, so let me now go back. So let me show you something what we have developed, and let me show you some practical example of what is whitelisting and how we do it. This is one of the dashboard of our systems. So what I will do is I will just open up the remote system in the cloud. So I just open up my remote desktop protocol and click on this. Basically, it is going to give me the RDP access to one of my system in the cloud, and it will come in a minute. And once it comes, I'll show you. Yeah, this is a system now. Now, if I go to the system and let us say I try to download any malware, so there are hundreds of malwares already in the system, and maybe I just let's not worry about even malware. Just I try to click on one of the executable. So now I take that image. This is a simple command prompt. So let me just show you. Okay. If you remember in the, I was just talking about the fileless exploits, how the payload looks like. Though I showed you in a notepad, let me try to show you the same one. This looks like a document, but if I just go to the macro and look at the macro, if I just try to edit this one, you will be able to see this is exactly what I was talking some time back. This is how the stage 1 payload looks like. But let us look at what happened when I try to open this document. You did not see any alert or anything like that on the system. But if I go back to my dashboard and look at what happened, what it is showing there, if I go to the alert and look at my latest alert in my dashboard, I should be able to see run DLL actually is trying to get blocked. Open up my system. So this is the demo system I have, and this is the policy. This is the policy. So it is basically controlled by multiple settings. And if you look at here, there is something called whitelisting here. The whitelisting is basically in enforce mode. It means that if any application which is not whitelisted explicitly on that specific system, it will be blocked and you will get an alert. So now if I go back here and try to run, let us say svchost.exe, you can see it is not allowing me to run a new binary in the system at all. Doesn't matter whether I'm an administrator, whether I am a normal user, doesn't matter, because we block these things at a kernel level. So when a process creation is happening, we hook into that API call at the kernel level, and we check whether it is been already approved as per the policy or not. And if it is not in the approved list, it automatically gets blocked. So let us say I try to download something else like Windows sensor.exe. See, it is not allowing to execute on the system. So this is how we can completely block any deviations apart from what the system is meant for. And this is also one more fileless attack. If you look at this HTA file, the entire payload is basically kept it in a obfuscation manner. You can see it all looks like some ASCII format, zeros, A's, B's, and some C's. But actually, this is all actually VB script, which is written. And this is trying to download a payload and try to execute in the system. So end of the day, there are you can use any type of solution, but one of the thing what I understood in last 20 years is one is having layers of security starting from firewall to antivirus and multiple things, and then implementing kind of a SIEM tools or log monitoring tools. The latest technologies what people are talking, including Gartner, is something called zero trust. So we are working on the zero trust for last 5-6 years. Zero trust is almost like, I mean, allow only what is required for your computer to function or for your business. Rest all automatically denied, which is a much safer and guarantees security much better than a normal security. Normal security, you allow everything and then analyze and look for any signatures, anomalies, and all those things. But in that way, hackers are always coming with new techniques to obfuscate, to bypass, to do something what they wanted to do without your knowledge. But in this zero trust, you will only allow the processes, the network connections, all those operations, only what you want. Example, I'll show you. If I click on the sample.pdf, you can see a Acrobat Reader has been opened and it is reading this specific PDF document. But you'll be surprised now if I try to open the same file with the notepad, it won't allow. Because we kept a policy, .pdf files should only be opened by Acrobat Reader. Just for demonstration purpose, what I will do is, if I just change, I mean, because this is extension based one, that's why, let us say if I put this PDF one, sorry, it won't even allow that. Because PDF files can only be touched by Adobe Acrobat Reader now. No other application, including Explorer.exe, can touch this. That's why I didn't allow. But this exe, even though I cannot run it, but if I try to open through Notepad, I mean, let us say if I just say, okay, let me open this one, payload. And if I try to put this svc host.exe into the specific file, it opens it. Doesn't matter whether it is able to read or not because it's not a text file, it's a binary file. But the same, if I do the sample, it won't allow. Access is denied. So you put restrictions at network level, data level, process level, your system will continue. This is exactly what we are offering to hospitals and many other government organizations across the world. So that way they were completely secure because there is no guesswork here anymore. It is only the systems are behaving only for the purpose what they are meant for. So any research into that specific area, I truly feel it is going to yield a lot of advantage going forward. So creating a secure systems by doing a lot of analysis, because collecting too much of data and try to process it and try to come out with some anomalies is an extensively expensive operation, because transferring the data, utilizing the system resources, I mean, it requires a lot of power, a lot of network bandwidth, a lot of people, a lot of false positives, a lot of false negatives, and all those things. But when you make system to do what they're supposed to do and make the systems to be within the boundaries, I think that is what makes the systems and keep the companies more secure, so that no ransomware attacks, no insider attacks. Just because somebody has admin privileges, they cannot just go on to something. I think I wanted to keep a little bit at this level. And what I would like to do is, I think all the whatever we have done, all the alerts came already. The SVC host, I tried to click on it. It's part of the blacklist for whatever reason and things like that. Windows sensor also we blocked it. It's not part of the whitelist. All those things came, and it has a lot of rich information. And we don't have to understand this, but it's all useful for the people who are actually monitoring the systems on a continuous basis. So we block the things and we send the alert. So the system is always secure. So I think with this kind of whatever if you remember from the morning till now, if you see, we spoke about the malwares, ransomware, APT attack, and what they are, and ultimately they're all processes. And we also talked about fileless malwares, how they come into picture. And then we talked about phishing attacks. We talked about how easy it is to create the phishing attacks. We talked about Metasploit framework, which is a part of Kali box, and number of tools what Kali box having, including Wireshark and all those things. And then we spoke about MITRE framework. We spoke about multiple public websites what are available like Virus Total, Fish Tank, and AnyRun, all those things. And then we looked at sysinternal tools. And also I gave you some links where you can go and explore more on sysinternals and Metasploit framework. And also I showed a tool what we have done, and we sold this company to a US company, and especially on zero trust. So I think logically, if you see the whole day session, whatever we have done, I touched upon many things at a high level, and pointed you to take it further to the next levels, because each of these subjects, whatever we spoke from morning till now, requires tremendous amount of research and a lot of use cases. You have to take these things use case wise, and you can do lot of work on within the campus or to the government or to the industries body. So I think my whole goal is to introduce you to all these things and explain you these things, is to encourage to come with a lab or some kind of more work which are practically useful for government or institute or to the third party organizations. So I think that's where I wanted to logically keep it here. And if you have any questions like in the morning and afternoon, I would like to take those questions and conclude this session. So maybe obviously we can always be in touch with mails and other channels I already gave about our CSC Labs YouTube and LinkedIn channels. So I think I would like you to come up with any questions you have. I'm not expecting if you're not, hands-on guy, very difficult to understand most of these concepts, but I think at a high level, you got some gist what we are trying to convey. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to take at this moment. Yeah, please go ahead and ask questions or you type so that we can understand.
Participants are requested to ask questions.
Yeah, if you have any questions, please ask me. Even so, and I hope, or you can also say what you liked it from morning till now, or what, even if you want to share one or two lines in terms of what you are planning to, how you are planning to take this forward, also be useful to others. I'm happy to listen to that kind of feedback, or that will also help in terms of planning our future discussions and interactions.
Dear sir, actually in many engineering colleges, they have started MTech in cyber forensics and information security courses. But the course is at the PG level, and the students who graduated in BE, they may feel that sufficient eligibility knowledge may not be available. They may think, they may feel themselves, or some will be placed in from the campus, they will move to job, and so that the cyber security and cyber forensic and cyber security course at the PG level is not seen good admission in some of the colleges. In our case, the first batch, 2015-16, we have 13 admissions, 13 seats admitted in our college. And immediately we took those students to CDAC Thiruvananthapuram, RCCF, to motivate them. And also we have established a MOU with CDAC RCCF. And also I have facilitated all the 30 students to take up the internship at CDAC Thiruvananthapuram at their own cost. And also in our undergraduate system, especially Karnataka, I don't know in other system, the information science and computer science, there is no difference at all. The only one subject is difference from information science and the computer science. That is, earlier we are studying the file structure in information science. That file structure was not in computer science. All rest of the subjects are same. There is no clear boundary. And what are the fundamental courses that should be introduced at the UG level in order to promote the UG students to take up the MTech course in cyber forensic and cyber security? And also a very good design of very good curriculum for a PG MTech course. And also how to set up the laboratory in at the PG level. Because when only 2 or 3 admissions are there at the PG MTech level, even the management hesitates to invest for the laboratory. So the laboratory will not come up. So the student will not expose how to use the forensic tools. And it is very difficult in that scenario. It is somewhat. So we have to, there is something, what we call it as a deadlock. So we have to open this deadlock and also the mind lock.
Correct. I think some inputs, I think it's a very important question and important concern you raised. I completely agree, because why I'm able to relate to what you said in last couple of minutes very well is the same. I mean, there is one institute in Tamil Nadu wanted to start MSc cybersecurity program for the first time. So typically when they come up with any new courses for MSc program or MTech, as you rightly said, only few admissions used to come, maybe 5, 6 and all those things. So we interacted with this institute and planned such a way that one is, as you rightly said, that curriculum has to be designed which is really interesting,
Yes.
so that which will be useful for the enterprises or the companies to acquire these people. Typically, I tell you, when of my first job in Infosys, the 2 months whatever they trained us is the training what companies will do versus what we learn in the usually in our colleges. There's not too much of synergies are there. So if we design the courses, especially for the MTech and the PG programs, which are more towards the industry industry usefulness, so that what industry will feel is these people has created and trained and people gone through enough use cases and they have done the internships in a live environment. Now when they come to our companies, I don't have to again fund them and train them on these things what I needed, because they've already gone through it. So one is definitely course curriculum. I'm happy to share with the coordinator what we have done. So as a reference, I'm not saying that has to be directly taken, because it can be done better, but I think we took around few months and really came up with one curriculum. Maybe I can share with the coordinators and maybe they can in turn have a discussion, because this requires much more brainstorming and more things. One is curriculum. Second thing is, okay, about creating lab, very important, obviously. Though many institutes do not have budgets, or for them it doesn't make sense to really create a huge expensive laboratories for because the number of people are less. But we came up with a very nice way of collaborating with other things, or even creating a nice lab. Actually, nowadays we don't need expensive hardware also. The cloud vendors like Azure, especially AWS and GCS, Google, they are ready to give a lot of credits to the universities at a free of cost, maybe $25,000, $50,000. That's how even the startups gets credits. So we can use that credits to create very nice ecosystem for students. Even we can talk to these corporate vendors like Checkpoint, Palo Alto, whoever is the people. We can get some education related licenses almost at zero cost, or very, very nominal cost, so that people get to touch the industry tools, and the infrastructure is there. And the last thing is, one important thing what we figured out in these 2 years is, obviously they will have a few theory classes followed up by lab classes, and one thing what we incorporated to make this whole course curriculum very successful is, like you rightly said, the internship. You also made some people to agree to consume these people at their own cost. So creating that nice, when I was studying in BITS planning, one of the biggest strength of the BITS planning is the last year 6 months internship in the corporate world, by getting a very good stipend, and they get to work with the companies. Most of the people who go for the internships, actually they get consumed in the same company after the 6 months gets over. So if we can, these three pieces we can really stitch with industry collaboration, because some of the labs and use cases and things has to be driven by people who are already in the industry. I think these three things, if we can put, and it's not going to be a silver bullet. We can just do these things automatically, everything will happen. But every university and every new thing has to be, we have to create that buzz. Example, IIIT Hyderabad has created an ecosystem. There are many IIITs are there. Why Hyderabad is famous? Because the way how they designed the course and the programming, and even the people who are going to IIT Bombay wanted to come, same company wanted to come same day to IIIT Hyderabad and consume them, because they know exactly what these guys will do for 2 years. I think the course, lab, and industry experience, and the industry 6 months internships will really help, in my opinion. I mean, obviously, this is a bigger discussion, but I think you rightly touched. This requires more discussion, more plan. But whatever we have done in last 6 months to 1 year, I'm happy to share with the coordinators, so that maybe one more discussions, a few more discussions can be done on this to make it better. I think that's what I can tell.
Sometimes even I feel to organize one workshop, how to set up the cyber forensic laboratory. I think what are the requirements of a good, at least a moderately good cyber forensic and cyber security laboratory? What are its requirements? What might be the approximate estimate? Likewise, at least one clear picture if the faculty is get, because these are the faculties we are going to propose set up a laboratory to our management, and our management has to come out with a clear idea. So in such cases, I think workshops are required to be conducted.
I completely agree for that.
And also how to design a good curriculum. At least this almost all the faculty, they want to design a curriculum. Which textbook, which subjects we have to include in the curriculum, because it's the emerging area, because it is not possible for them. I think one workshop on designing curriculum and setting up a cyber forensic laboratory in educational institution, I think that one workshop might be required to help our faculty members very lot.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you.
Sir, I would like to add something on this, since we are talking about curriculum. So changing the curriculum is not so easy, because in our college, I think we also have information science and computer science department. So we thought of putting all subjects which are only related to information science in our college, and it is not so easy. So you will have again downfall in our admissions. So you will see there is a lot of hiccups which we have to face later. So it is not so easy job, but still I think in this aspect, governments have to put their hand and see to it that the government colleges will start such kind of courses first, and people who get enrolled in these kind of courses will get some opportunities elsewhere. So the governments have a lot of power in this particular aspect to start. But even though if they face the shortage of admissions, I think that may not be an issue, for since it is a government institution. So there it will not be an issue. But for private institutions like Army College and maybe SIT, so they will face a lot of problems if the admissions are not there. So maybe governments have to help. I don't know what is the government intervention in this, and then how actually they are helping out in this thing. I'm really not aware, because IITs and triple ITs, I don't know how much they are trying to utilize the received from the government for starting such kind of initiatives.
I have come across one more reason. Actually, I perceived one reason for reduced strength in PG MTech in cyber forensic and cyber security. Because in UG, computer science and information science, normally there are too many subjects: artificial intelligence, artificial neural network, IoT, and entrepreneurship development. Too many subjects we are adding. The students are also in a state of confusion which direction we have to move. And which are the fundamental subjects related to cyber security? Only the basic network, the computer network they study, and the data communication they study, not beyond that. And also there is no motivation from electronics and communication side. In fact, I told some of the students with whom I am familiar, you see, these study of cyber forensic and cyber security not only limited to information science and computer science. Even it is open for electronics and communication engineers also, because they also study computer network, they also study data communication, and they also have all the requisite knowledge. Even at least from students from the electronics and communication also, if they show interest in pursuing this kind of study in cyber forensic and cyber security, and really it will be helpful, because it requires people from all domains, both information science, computer science, electronics and communication. So in that regard, the syllabus which shoots for all these three branches. In such a way, we have to design the syllabus for PG, MTech, and also we need a UG course in cyber forensic and cyber security specifically. So when we have undergraduate course in cyber forensic and cyber security, it is designed only for that branch. Then I think the problem of taking the students to at the PG level and to the research level, it will be very easy.
Absolutely. So what you are seeing in my screen now is the course what we have designed to one of the institute in Tamil Nadu.
Yes, sir. Nice,
so
nice.
I think if you look at the way how we designed the semester wise, and within the semester also, there is a lot of rationale behind. We did reverse engineering from what when somebody has to get into the job, what exactly they require. 5-6 roles are there. Those roles we come back. What exactly people has to be trained, what people has to do. I think this is something what we kept along with some electives. So some of the electives which we kept. Only one thing we haven't given too much emphasis in this specific one is on the forensics, but other than forensics, most of the others, compliances, programming, red team, and pen test, the other things are being completely covered. But anyways, I think you are right. I mean, we have to directly work with the VC in that, get a lot of permissions, but to flexibly design the course so that it suits and really makes the enterprises excited when they see that these are the courses what people are getting trained. This is the way how they are getting trained. Yes.
Actually, sir. Actually, I made such an attempt in the year 2015-16. With that intention of only, we have organized a workshop. I think you remember. And that workshop you were not able to participate because of an emergency situation arisen for you, and you went to US actually.
Correct.
We have planned actually.
Yes. I think now things are slowly changing. But I think let us see. I mean, this is something.
Yes, sir. Definitely, we need your cooperation, because sometimes when the management speaks of, hey, there is no admission to this PG branch, why cannot we close it? The closure of a branch is very painful to me.
No, I completely agree. What you're talking is the reality. So somebody has to really understand what is the reality, and then people are going to spend 2 years or 4 years, valuable time, students, without any responsibility and full focus. If we don't provide them the necessary infrastructure and the right mentorship and the info, all those things, if they are not there, end of the day, the valuable time is getting lost. And obviously, subsequent ones, only based on the current people who are going out of the college, the success of the people and their feedbacks matters for the upcoming admissions, right?
Yes, sir.
Anyways, I think that's the right direction we're already thinking. So I'm sure when thought comes, obviously solution will come.
Yes, sir, for sure.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to interact with you.
Sir, I have one question. I have not asked you since from first day. I don't know. Often and often I'm forgetting. These students in engineering colleges will develop applications and chat boards and such small applications they develop. And also some of the applications they may put it in Google Play Store, and other consumers are making use of it. And while coding these applications or while coding these boot charts, our students are not normally, it's a quite common scenario everywhere. The students may not use the standard coding practice. Without employing standard coding practice, if they develop some applications which each and every statement of their program is not tested for security, and such a code, when it is put into Play Store or made it available in the mobiles or any other gadget, digital gadget, when the people start using it, so it will be very difficult when such applications are. Such applications, when the people using it, they may be deceived, or some other culprits may misuse the leakage of information or some other privacy information. So they may be leaked out. There are such chances. How to bring the standards before any application is available in our digital gadgets? There must be a standard to control it. Whether the application developed by some group of people or a student, when it is available to the general public, there must be a standard to evaluate and validate it, and then it should be made available to the public.
You're right. Actually, usually the Google Play Store or App Store by Apple. Unfortunately, we don't need to submit the source code, because obviously they don't demand us to submit the source code. But however, the kind of checks what they do, but again, what they try to say is, if the application is written where it needs complete access to your phone, including file system, camera, and microsystem, it actually says you are okay to give grant to these things. And Google is not going to worry about, as long as the people are saying, yes, I'm okay with this thing. They don't because it's for them. Imagine every minute thousands of applications gets submitted. They cannot really go into whether that is the right intention or not. So we have discussions with the Google head in India also. For them that is a headache for them. So, and if they put more restrictions, then it is going to be more problem for them also. So they want to encourage people at the same time. But at the end of the day, it is up to the person who is downloading it and using it. If he's not checking the reputation of the source and what is the reason he's downloading, if those things are not done properly, you are right. It is going to create problems, and that's exactly what the cybercrime people and other entities are dealing on a day-to-day basis.
Dear participants, any other questions? I request you kindly to interact with our resource person, get all the required information so that it can play a vital role in your academia.
Yeah. So I have given my email address also, sir, in the morning. I'm again typing it. So if anybody wants, please and discuss.
Sir, I had one.
Yeah.
Virtual
Using
keys.
Okay.
While logging into this thing, they will also give option.
Correct.
You can use virtual keyboard.
Yes.
Will it give safety?
It definitely is better than normal typing, because virtual keyboard, the mappings are not direct. So that's why if somebody is doing a key logging, if somebody only from keyloggers, it is going to make your life more simple or better secure. But nowadays the keyloggers and all those things are gone. People are gone beyond it. Even the virtual key mapping also they can easily decode based on the JavaScript what has been injected into the website. But definitely this is little better than typing it. So that way the keyloggers, your passwords are not known to the keyloggers for sure.
Antivirus will give VPN.
VPN is basically to keep your identity private. Example, right now, if I just access any website from direct connection, it gives my public IP, which is assigned by my ISP or my broadband provider or my mobile. But if I use VPN, Suppose you don't want the person website owner, you don't want them to know your browser information, your public IP information, your location. So virtual private networks are the way to go. Because sometimes if you are worried about why should I use my own connection if I have to connect to something, in those cases, typically the VPN, actually VPNs publicly available are used more than the way it is supposed to be used. Otherwise, the fundamental advantage of VPN is so that your direct information is not known to somebody. It's like a proxy.
Sir, one more basic question. When we purchase commercial antivirus software, through its service, we take 1 year or 2 years. During service, is there any way to know its performance? How they are updating the things? Let us say if you take 2 years commercial antivirus, so how we know that and other things are up to date?
No, if you take 2 years commercial license, what you're asking, how can we know what they're doing during this period? Something like that?
Let us say we have taken some antivirus, so it need to give say for us. So how we will ensure ensuring us their R&D other things are up to date?
Typically, the antivirus people, if you're a commercial one, they try to keep your antivirus engine up to date. However, they don't take risk if your system gets ransomware or hacked. They are not responsible. They only say that whatever R&D we do, whatever new signatures we develop, whatever updates and functionalities and features we develop, we make sure they get delivered to you and auto updated. That's it. Example, you take Kaspersky, you take, any other third party McAfee, Cement, whatever, the single user or multi-user or 5-user licenses or Windows Defender by default comes. Those people say that whatever we develop, they will be automatically gets updated on your system, and you can go and look at the information when is the last engine gets updated and all those things. But they will not go, they are not going to take any kind of responsibility if something goes wrong, even though you use a commercial version, up-to-date version. Because that is one more fence, this is one more layer, that's it. It is nothing more than that. That's why if you remember, I just spoke about zero trust is something what every sensitive government people are incorporating. Pharma companies, biotech companies, they are actually going towards zero trust rather than a traditional antivirus, EDR, and EPP solutions, because the predictability and control is more in zero trust than allow everything and then try to find the bad.
Thank you, sir. That two you told,
Sorry,
you are using.
I couldn't hear you. What is it? Can you please repeat?
Sir, you.
For phishing, okay. For phishing, my only answer will be do not type anywhere. Okay, the third technique I tell you is whenever you want to open any link, always open up in a incognito mode, because what is incognito mode versus normal browser is when you open the link directly in the browser, that browser's cookies, everything can be translated to other tabs. But however, if you open up in incognito mode, first of all, your session cookies, your sensitive data, what already there within that other browser is not shared with this new browser. And second thing is, always be cautious and be careful about entering your sensitive data, be it logins, password, phone number. Sometimes these phishing attacks need not to be email, right? They call you, say that we are from bank, we are from Aadhaar, we are from income tax. So there are enough number of people try to fool you and try to get the information from us. So you have to be double cautious whenever you are giving this information. Just because they are claiming that they are from an approval body and all those things, we need not to give that information. I am extremely cautious always because there is nowhere somebody will call and ask my debit card number, credit card number. You click on this link, you have to provide this information. I mean, I use that I use it as if like it's my most precious, valuable asset, more than a gold and cash. That's it.
Sir, actually, the cyber forensic tools, they are very costly, sometimes we feel. But is it possible to have an educational standard of the cyber forensic tool?
No, SANS,
Not sophistication is required.
SANS has a very good free tools. I don't know whether whoever touched upon that tools yesterday. Like the way how Kalibox is meant for malware analysis, penetration testing, and all those things. Though it also has a few forensics tools, but SANS, it's called GREM. They have a CD. They can you can download it easily. It's called GIAC. RE. They call it as a reverse engineering course, master in GREM. You can download it. It has all the tools what is required. The free. The only difference between the free tools and commercial tools is commercial tools basically adds some additional flavors in terms of the invoicing, beautification of the report, those kind of things. Apart from that, the entire technically everything are in fact better than freeware or these community editions. They are better actually.
I think that those commercial equipments are necessary for law enforcement agencies might use that quality of cyber forensic tools. But
Some of these.
for training our students, in the laboratory, I think such sophistication may not be required.
Sir, I think definitely, as per my information, if I am not wrong, but we can discuss later, the Gujarat Forensics Laboratory already develop. I mean, they have two type of tools. One is the freewares, as you rightly said. Some of them are commercial. So the freeware tools, they can give us a list and you can replicate it in your laboratory. The expensive tools, they are ready to write a MOU and give access to their commercial tools also. I think if you want, I can connect and we can talk about it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Participants?
I think it was nice talking to you and thanks for the opportunity to the entire team, especially Kumar Garu. And I really enjoyed, and it's always my pleasure talking to people. And more importantly than teaching, I learn a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Dear participants, hope you have enjoyed the 3 sessions of our Sri Chandrasekhar Reddy, the founder and CEO of CSCC Laboratory Hyderabad, Telangana. Sir, I forgotten to tell you that I have done my PhD in JNTU Hyderabad, Kukutpalli.
Very good.
And Dr. Kamakshi Prasad was my supervisor.
Good to know. Good to know, sir.
Dear participants, you have enjoyed these 3 sessions. So we are very happy that we have Sri Chandrasekhar Reddy with us in this 4th day of this workshop. So we were going to end up this session. Chandrasekhar Reddy sir, in spite of your busy schedule, you have accepted our request and you are with us, and you have delivered a very valuable, inspiring speech on the cyber forensic tools and its usage, and also you have helped our colleague who are the academicians to come out with a strategy for development of cyber forensic and cyber security courses in their colleges. I think it is very, very useful, very informative, and very knowledgeable, and also it is technically oriented, more than that. And we really enjoyed your session, and thank you very much. And on behalf of Siddhganga Education Society, and on behalf of Siddhganga Institute of Technology, on behalf of faculty and student of SIT Tumkur, and on behalf of our participants, and personally myself, I am very much thankful to you and to have you with us. Thank you very much for your kind session. Thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you.
Dear participants, today's session is ended. Tomorrow morning we have the next session at sharp 10 o'clock. We will be having our another dignitary resource person. the computer emergency response, the former scientist Subramani Babu. So Sri Subramani Babu will be with us tomorrow morning first session, and he was a former scientist in computer emergency response team. He is also a good orator and a technically very stuffed and high-weighted resource professional. So we will have in tomorrow next day session. So thank you very much for your kind patience and participation in all these 4 days. I request you kindly to keep the same spirit and enthusiasm with you. So tomorrow we will join back here at 10 o'clock. Thank you very much. Thank you all.